Is the world order collapsing and will it lead to World War III? The claim that the world order is collapsing reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of how international systems function. Let me explain. Orders rarely collapse simply because they are contested, they would merely evolve. What we are witnessing with the advent of Trump's New World Order is not a systemic breakdown or the onset of World War III, but a recalibration of a framework that remains anchored in Western institutional, financial, and security architecture that is led by the United States. And that's just something the global elite doesn't want to hear. It's like a child that doesn't want to eat their vegetables even though they know it's good for them. Or when a parent introduces a child to chores for the first time, and parents know exactly what I'm talking about. Historically, global order has rested on three pillars: hard power, economic centrality, and information dominance. And I would argue demographic stability, although a more accurate phrase might be demographic elasticity. And in each one of these dimensions, and each one of these pillars, American primacy persists. Militarily, there is no rival that can match U.S. global reach or alliance depth. All of NATO has collectively strengthened. All of our Pacific partners have also collectively strengthened their respective positions. And all of this is in response to emerging threats, primarily Russia and China, in this new Cold War. But heightened tensions signal deterrence politics, not structural collapse. Deterrence politics simply hasn't been applied in a truly whole-of-government approach until now, because the sanctimonious semi-permanent class and their failed policies always failed to deliver. Probably no other time in history since World War II have you seen such a global, systematic rollback of an adversary's allies. Iran's ring of fire around Israel has largely been put out, and Iran now stands on the brink. You also have Venezuela, which they also stand on the brink. They have all their oil that's been curtailed. All of Russia's shadow fleet is currently being targeted and curtailed. India is starting to wind down their purchasing of Russian oil due to American influence, and even China is getting tired of Putin's games. None of this could have been done by any other administration. Economically, the dollar-centered financial system still underpins global trade, markets, and energy. While de-dollarization rhetoric persists as it makes its rounds around social media, making those Putin bros and Ayatollah incels happy, the truth of the matter is that the bulk of the reserves and sovereign debt is in US dollar, followed closely by the euro. Even competitors operate within this architecture, reflecting managed interdependence and not any kind of systemic decay. And in the information domain, you have Western-led institutions like universities and think tanks, and tech companies, the largest in the world, like Google or Alphabet, and Meta, or otherwise known as Facebook, and Apple, and Microsoft. And Western-led frameworks like the global banking system, or international logistics chains, or the World Wide Web. Multipolar friction should not be mistaken for anarchy. The major powers of the world are economically intertwined, which naturally causes restraint. A total war would undermine their own prosperity, their own regime's survivability, and maybe their own people's survivability. The threat of that reality constrains escalation, so you have nuclear weapons to thank for that. The United States is not abandoning leadership like many never-Trumpers want you to believe. It is recalibrating burden sharing and strategic competition. Periods of transition naturally feel unstable, but the foundational pillars of global order remain intact. The 21st century does not mark the twilight of the system as some entrenched voices would suggest, but a transition into the next phase of a Western-led era, as Marco Rubio artfully stated. Fear is understandable. Collapse, however, is a misreading of transformation, an interpretation that conveniently serves America's adversaries at home and abroad.